a friend of mine, Chepe Le Pepe, asked me to give him my full thoughts about the modern age basic rulebook. I've pre-ordered this a while ago, like in June, I believe, and the the physical copy I've received last week. So I've had time to browse through it, not read the whole thing yet, so this video would not be considered a review from my, let's say, standards, but this will be me rambling about what I think about modern age and what it can do, and trying to answer Chepe's inquiry about what I think about this game. So in a sense, he will owe me a video for this, so get on it, man. So first of all, Modern Age succeeded the Banzai test, a procedure where I'm trying to create a Buckaroo Banzai type of character and see if the game can support it. I'll leave the stats of the character I made using the procedures in Modern Age in the description below the video, and I'll leave to you to decide if the game succeeded or not. So I'll divide this rambling. I have a couple of notes here. I'll divide this this rambling in 3 categories: the goods, the bads, and the meh. So let's start with the goods. So this game is very much like Fantasy Age. It uses 3d6. I love 3d6. I'm a GURPS guy, so I like the bell curve of it. I like the shape of the dice. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm very good at adding them up. I don't know. It's very much the same system as the Fantasy Age. So 3d6, you add your ability, you aim for a target number, boom, you're done. There is one die that is a different color, the stun die or the dragon die if you play any Dragon Age. And this die, if you succeed, generate stunned points. If you roll a double, you can then add to your description and effect in the game a stunt where you spend those points generated by this different die, and you can add effect, more damage. You can make an opponent prone, push them back, or all kinds of fun stuff. The experience point in this system is very organic. The GM by default just decide when the players level up. You can use an alternative XP system, but this game is very modern in this way. You don't need to use XP. And another big thing I like about the Age system is armor as damage resistance. So this is good. I find that this game altogether, overall Age system, strikes a good balance between a game that is very granular, a la GURPS, and something that is very broad, like, let's say, Savage World, which you can probably memorize the skill list and by heart, since they had so few of them. So this game is kind of a middle type of experience, and this is important to understand this game, to understand that this game is not granular, it's not meant to be granular, and several readings of Fantasy Age, Dragon Age, and this one kind of reinforce this idea in me. I've ran Dragon Age a couple of times, so I have a pretty good idea of what it can do. And this is important, I feel, when we approach this game, to recognize that this is not a granular game, and we if we want to make it more granular, we will have to add to it. So keep that in mind. So it's a decent game for one shots and for a longer campaign as well, since it has enough of the crunch to get you from level 1 to 20. And also the leveling in this iteration of the age system is different from the fantasy version. Leveling up will ask you to make yourself the choices you want to progress your character towards. So you yourself will make the decision, and there is no class per se, so the book will not give you stuff as you level up. You will have to make choices, and this is more organic, and it fits also the modern type of experience, type of setting. Because in modern world, classes are kind of not fitting our modern sensibility, I guess. Another good thing is backgrounds. Backgrounds now replace race. So each background will give you this or that, a little bit less of this and more of that. So it will give you bonuses depending where your character comes from his background. You have another cool thing, new rules such as breaching, which are essentially Spycraft 2.0 infiltration rules. At least it's pretty similar. Your character is trying to infiltrate the another organization. It's very cool to pull a heist scenario or deep undercover scenario. Another thing is this game being a modern game, you can approach it like a TV show or a cinematic gonzo Tom Cruise movie. So you have new game modes, 3 game modes. You have greedy, pulp, and cinematic. And each of those will change or shape the experience of play using different kind of rule or setting on the rule, and will produce different outcomes. And another good thing is that there is no typo on the character sheet, so that's neat. So onto the bads now, and even though I will list a couple of ones, just rambling here. So first bads is you have to roll for social status. You this can be discomforting for people who have an idea of a character, then roll and find out you cannot be the rich kid. You have a lower class character. So it's kind of a big deal because social status then decide what your profession can be. You can be of a higher social status and aim lower. You can be a higher class citizen and voluntarily choose the criminal profession. But you cannot do the reverse. So you cannot do the outsider with an explorer, and you cannot do the middle class with an expert at something, which to me doesn't fit. So it tries to be unnecessarily realistic, and that is not generic enough. I can list a couple of concepts where an outsider explorer would be a good idea, but according to these rules, you cannot make it. So the fix for that, of course, is you can just choose whatever you want in the social status. You can choose then your profession, and there you go. And thankfully, doing that or the other thing doesn't have will not make a character stronger than another one. in Shadowrun, for example, back in the days, prioritizing which was more important to your character made or didn't make your character more powerful. You could start off by saying wealth is the best thing about my character, and then you bought all kinds of equipment, implant, and cyber deck or whatever, and you became more powerful than somebody who made something else important. So this is not a thing like that. Everything is very balanced in this game, so the fix is very easy. You just need to not follow the instruction that are given to you, which is a shame because people will do it anyway. Another bad thing would be the extraordinary powers. First of all, the header font that they use is pretty hard to read, and they use some kind of a blue ink to you have a good example here, but the blue will not show right here, and I'll try. Eventually the camera should pick it up. Okay, it's all right. Anyway, it goes for the same effect. It's kind of blurry. So not only the font is hard to read, but each of these powers have some kind of a flowery language. You don't have detect magic, you will have arcane awareness. And the font plus the blurriness of the print, you can see that at some pages the blue is not sharp, it's like blurry a bit, some printing error. So it makes the header hard to read. Another thing about the powers is that they are not, and this is not a bad thing, they are not open to players as default. The game master will have to decide which power are allowed for his game, if they are allowed at all, and why, and how you gain them. A bad thing about powers is that they divide arcana, magical power, and psychic power. They separate those two, and I can see how I would want to make a magician that would be able to create ice, and ice is a psionic power in the book, and fire is an arcane power. And I could see a situation where I could make the Charlie character, pyrokinetic kid, but this is in the Arcana section of power. So they kind of divided the Arcana and psychic power for no reason outside of, I don't know, there's no good reason for that. In fact, there is no good reason to have made force the powers into trappings like psychic and magic. They should have just done the Savage World thing and just say, this is the power for ice, this is the power for fire, decide the source. Is it mutation, chi, magic, psionic, technologic? They should have just done that to make the book more generic and therefore more useful for people. There's a couple of arcana that are badly designed. Most of them are okay, but I can cite a few, like the Schematic Arcana. The Schematic Arcana basically makes a 3D schematic of an object appear in front of you, and then it does nothing else. Well, maybe. It says in the paragraph that the GM may give you a bonus or not sure. So it's a power to make an image appear, and this image can or cannot be useful. And there is no mechanical bonus. This is a bad design as a power go. But I've noticed just this one. Or there's another one called Arcane Blast. Arcane. It's the one in the Power Arcana. Arcane Blast. it does like 1d6 plus willpower. It's so weak. You better buy a handgun and not spend your psychic PowerPoint or whatever. Just use a gun. It's better. So not sure why I would want to buy Schematic or Arcane Blast as a power. It's kind of weak. And there is the loophole. I'll give you an optimization trick. Buy the Arcane Shield and the Displacement Arcane and activate both. You will be untouchable. Basically, Displacement boosts your defense, and Arcane Shield does the same. So combine the two. Yeah. See how it goes. Became the untouchable magician. And another loophole is the fuel arcana. It says that you can refuel a fuel tank for 5 pp, 5 power point. So I say refuel a cargo ship fuel tank and retire and become a gas baron by refueling a large empty tank of gas 5 times a day and sell the gas for profit. So the power section in this book is the weakest point for me. There's no affliction, there's no psychometry, no summon, no transform your body into body of hair or something. I agree, this game is not a superhero game, but Green Ronin is kind of known for this game here and this game here, and these games give you more powers from the get-go. So I get that they want to produce more books and you to buy more books, and I can see the modern age power companion on the way, I'm sure of it, but it's kind of missing in this book. It's a basic rule book. Yeah, okay, it says on the cover basic rule book, but we could have a little bit more powers in it. So it's just a shame, and it's easy enough to come up with your own power. And personally, I found the selection not generic enough, and the unnecessary trapping, and so yeah. And the last bad thing I would say is the absence of other mechanics that was inspired by Spycraft, for example. In Spycraft 2.0, you had, of course, infiltration, but you had brainwashing, and then you had chases, and you had interrogation, and you had several subsystems that were really useful for modern type of setting. And in this game, we just have breaching. So there may be chase rules. That would be kind of standard. Let me check just a second. So as you can see, it's not very researched. Let's see, chase rules. Yeah, there is still chase rules, but they might be missing some other type of chase or breaching like subsystem. Just saying. So onto the maze. The resource score. So for those who read the old D20 Modern, yeah, it's something that, you see, okay, first things first, when you play a modern game, tracking your change in your pockets or how many bucks you have in your bank account can be tedious. I can see why they would use a resource score. But then when you role play, $5 is $5. It's not a resource score of 1. You see, people are using naturalistic language. So I kind of see why you would use a simplification of money in a modern setting to make it more fast. And remember, the first thing about this system, it's not something granular, so it's kind of respecting its own design pillar. But not coming from a naturalistic place, I would lean personally towards using real money and just use it maybe more simply. So each gear comes with a resource target number you need to roll to buy, to procure. So game masters have to evaluate cost of things that might come up, like I want to buy a building or I want to buy a spacesuit. These things are not listed in the, so you have to make a guess, and that kinds of other meh is the art. Sometimes the art is questionable, or it's not bad. I would say some art is average, and at this point in time, and with previous success of Green Ronin, I'm wondering, their presentation is part of design, and I'm wondering sometimes from which pool of artists they pick their talent from, and sometimes I can see the artists doing their best, but I see some picture in there that the artistic choice is weird. Uh, I won't get into details, but you make your own mind about this. But the art style is like, the layout is clean, but sometimes the art doesn't support imagination, let's say, or sometimes I would say maybe it's hard on the imagination, but some are pretty good also. And there's the last meh is a little paragraph in the campaign section, I think. Um, it's called handling the bad parts, and it's kind of preachy. It's kind of social justice warrior-y, and uh, I'm not at ease with these types of discussion in role-playing game. We should be adult enough to make our own decision, and role-playing games are tools to be used by people who will also make their own decisions about how this game will factor into their fun. So I don't like preachiness, even a paragraph of it. And this campaign setting paragraph also tell you about different type periods in history. Thus, the handling the bad part, like sexism or racism, which none of those I'm for, of course, but I'm against the preachiness of not letting people decide whatever they want to do. And in the description of these periods in history, they cite examples such as the urban fantasy, Dresden File, Harry Potter, and I feel you cannot do Dresden File and Harry Potter with this basic rulebook. You will have to add to it. You will need to create lots of spells and magic yourself to be able to do those. So this game does not do other periods of time super well. It will, or other genre that are close to modern settings. It's kind of designed to do cinematic, modern setting, spy movies, soap opera, those type of modern settings, and not all of the modern setting ever you will have to add to. The good news is that the game is so easy that it's easy to hack, it's easy to add to modify to your needs. So this is a good thing. So my conclusion to this rambling would be that modern age is it's easy to learn, it's easy to teach, to grasp, It's easy to modify, to ignore, to change, to make your own. Pretty much easy. The mechanic is pretty fun, actually. The stunt makes it worthwhile. And the whole deal is about stunt for me. I don't think I would use the power as is. I would be more tempted to use Mutants and Mastermind power structure and work that into a modern age core mechanic. The game does a narrow band of urban settings. If you want to do something else, you will have to work for it. The power, you don't have all the options ever. You will need to create powers to apply for your game, maybe. Then for the Banzai test, you may have an idea in your head, and the system per se would not give you access to that, so you can just ignore the rule and do whatever you want with it. But it's kind of the default character creation is by chance. So you roll stats, you roll social status, you roll profession, and you play that. And this might not gel with people who are used to point by system or to create their own design first and then express it in the game. And you have to remember that this game is not granular. It's kind of a middle way between broad and granular, so you have to accept that your character will be defined on the character sheet, but in somewhat broad term, and narration will fill the rest. So that's it. So thank you for watching, and yeah, see you next time. And good modern age.